Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea from AD 26 to 36, is a pivotal figure in the story of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Understanding Pilate and his historical context is essential to comprehending his role in this event. As a prefect under the Roman Empire, Pilate had considerable administrative and judicial authority, representing the power of Rome in a region known for its tumultuous relationship with its occupiers. His position required balancing the often volatile relationships between the Roman authorities and the Jewish population, who were resistant to foreign rule. Pilate's significance lies in his involvement in one of history's most famous trials. He presided over the trial of Jesus and ultimately sanctioned his crucifixion, a decision that has been subject to extensive historical and theological analysis. Pilate's dilemma between upholding Roman law and placating local leaders illustrates the tensions inherent in colonial rule. This moment underscores the broader scope of Roman governance, where maintaining order sometimes meant making politically expedient decisions rather than delivering what might be considered justice. Two instances highlight Pilate's governing challenges. First, his decision to erect Roman standards in Jerusalem sparked outrage among Jews, demonstrating his insensitivity to local customs and religious sentiments. Second, his use of temple funds to build an aqueduct led to protests, which he brutally suppressed, further sowing dissent. These actions show Pilate as a governor whose rule was fraught with the challenge of asserting Roman authority while managing sensitive local issues. Opinions about Pilate vary. Some view him as a fundamentally weak leader, easily swayed by the crowd and local leaders, evidenced by his symbolic act of washing his hands of Jesus' fate. Others argue he was a practical politician, making the difficult choice to prevent further unrest. Yet, his inability to effectively manage Judea's conflicting interests continues to spark debate about his administrative acumen. Controversy arises from the different gospel narratives that portray Pilate with varying degrees of responsibility and sympathy. Historical records outside biblical texts are scarce, leaving room for interpretations and alternative viewpoints, including those that argue for a more politically adept Pilate. Pilate's context illustrates the complex dynamics of colonial governance, where the impact of cultural and religious differences profoundly affected decisions. This complexity, in turn, influenced early Christian narratives, shaping perceptions of authority and justice that continue to resonate throughout history. Understanding Pilate's role provides insight into the socio-political forces at play during the crucifixion, deepening our grasp of the historical circumstances that influenced this seminal event. Pontius Pilate's appointment as the Roman governor of Judea is a crucial aspect to understanding his role in the crucifixion of Jesus. Appointed by Tiberius Caesar around 26-27 AD, Pilate served as prefect or governor until around 36 AD. The position of governor in a province like Judea was significant because it meant holding the highest Roman authority. Pilate was responsible for maintaining law and order, managing tax collections, and overseeing the administration of justice. This position granted him considerable power, but also placed him in the delicate position of balancing Roman interests with those of the Jewish populace. The significance of Pilate's role as governor in relation to Jesus' crucifixion cannot be overstated. It was Pilate's decision, under pressure from various factions, that ultimately led to the authorization of the crucifixion. As governor, his authorization was essential for carrying out capital punishment, underscoring his pivotal role in the events leading up to and including the crucifixion. Historically, Pilate's tenure as governor has been marked by tensions with the local Jewish population, often sparked by his insensitivity to their customs and religious laws. For instance, Pilate's introduction of Roman military standards bearing the image of the emperor into Jerusalem provoked outrage, forcing him to withdraw them under pressure. Another example was his use of temple funds to build an aqueduct, which led to widespread protests. These incidents illustrate Pilate's gubernatorial style, one that underscored his authoritative role, but also led to clashes with Jewish authorities. There are writings that label Pilate as a reluctant player in the crucifixion, pressured by Jewish leaders in a mob calling for Jesus' death, as illustrated in the Christian Gospels. This perspective has led to debates among scholars regarding Pilate's personal beliefs and the extent of his complicity. Some view him as a pragmatic governor trying to avoid unrest during a politically volatile period, while others see him as a figure who wielded his power ruthlessly and with little regard for local customs. Controversies surrounding Pilate include the extent of his responsibility and intentions, which continue to be a point of contention among historians and theologians. Alternative viewpoints suggest that Roman policy might have allowed for more leniency, but Pilate chose to align himself with the local leaders for political stability. Pilate's role as governor deeply intertwines with broader themes of Roman provincial governance, political pressures of the time, and the multifaceted causes leading to the crucifixion. His actions demonstrate the complex intersection of imperial politics, local governance, and historical legacy, providing a profound understanding of the historical context in which the crucifixion took place. The political and social climate of Judea under Roman rule was characterized by tension, division, and a complex interplay of power dynamics. Judea during the time of Pontius Pilate was a province under the vast Roman Empire, governed by Roman laws and overseen by a prefect appointed by Rome, in this case, Pilate himself. The significance of this climate in relation to Pilate's role in the crucifixion of Jesus is profound. It was a period marked by simmering unrest among the Jewish population, who resented the heavy-handed Roman tax system, military presence, and the erosion of local laws and customs. One key aspect of this environment was the presence of religious division. The Jewish population was not a monolith. It was comprised of various sects such as the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Essenes, each with their own interpretations of Jewish law and their outlook on Roman rule. This internal division made it challenging to present a unified front against the Romans and, at times, even led to collaboration with them, as some groups saw an opportunity to leverage Roman power to suppress rivals. Another example is the frequent uprisings and resistance movements that Romans had to quell regularly to maintain order. The Zealots, for example, were a Jewish political movement that sought to expel the Romans and called for active resistance against the invaders. This ever-present threat of rebellion meant that Roman governors like Pilate were under pressure to maintain peace by any means necessary, often resorting to brutal measures to deter dissent. The opinions surrounding Roman rule were deeply polarized. While some Jewish leaders and higher social strata saw cooperation with the Romans as beneficial for economic stability, many others viewed this as a betrayal of their faith and identity. These divergent opinions further complicated the social landscape Pilate navigated, making his governance a careful balancing act between appeasing Roman authorities and managing local unrest. One of the primary challenges in this context was the potential for revolt if local customs were perceived as being violated. Pilate's well-documented insensitivity to Jewish traditions, such as using sacred funds for civic projects or bringing Roman standards into Jerusalem, often ignited public outrage, highlighting an ongoing controversy regarding the cultural imposition by the Romans. This climate directly influenced Pilate's decision-making process in the crucifixion of Jesus. Faced with mounting pressure from both Roman expectations and Jewish leaders, he found himself at the crossroads of maintaining order and placating his critics. Thus, the complex political and social landscape of Judea under Roman rule was not just a backdrop, but a driving force that shaped the events leading to the crucifixion, intertwining with themes of authority, identity, and resistance. The trial of Jesus before Pontius Pilate remains one of the most scrutinized events in historical and religious discourse. Pilate, as the Roman governor of Judea, held the authority to adjudicate in cases warranting capital punishment. His role and decisions in the trial of Jesus were pivotal. He attempted to navigate between maintaining Roman authority and placating local Jewish leadership, ultimately leading to his infamous decision to permit the crucifixion. Despite finding no fault in Jesus, Pilate yielded to public pressure, symbolized by the act of washing his hands to denote his claim of innocence. This trial underscores his complex governance role, where legal authority intertwined with political expediency. The significance of Pilate's decisions cannot be overstated. This moment crystallizes the tensions between imperial rule and local customs, highlighting the Roman Empire's influence over Judean politics. It is a dramatic illustration of how political, social, and religious currents converge, shaping not only the course of immediate events, but also their enduring legacy in Christian theology, portraying Pilate as a man conflicted yet crucial in the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Real-world parallels are evident in modern judicial systems where political pressure can influence legal outcomes. For instance, controversial rulings under authoritarian regimes often reflect the precarious balance between judicial independence and state influence. Moreover, Pilate's decision mirrors instances where leaders abdicate moral responsibility, using bureaucratic or ceremonial gestures to distance themselves from controversial outcomes. Supporters of the viewpoint that Pilate had little choice argue that his actions were constrained by the volatile political environment, positing that his decision was a pragmatic choice aimed at maintaining peace. Critics, however, assert that Pilate's acquiescence showcases a failure to uphold justice, propelling discussions on the ethical obligations of those in power. The trial of Jesus under Pilate's governance sparks debates about the justness of laws and the role of a leader's conscience versus external pressures. It challenges the interpretation of justice when power dynamics are at play and questions whether Pilate could have acted differently. This interplay between political strategy and judicial duty not only influenced the outcome of the trial but also impacted subsequent Roman-Jewish relations, embedding Pilate's legacy within a broader historical context. Understanding his role illuminates broader themes of leadership, morality, and governance during a crucial epoch in history.